And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
Today we're diving into one of the most talked about claims in Hollywood, brought forward by Katt Williams, and it connects two of the biggest names in entertainment, Will Smith and Michael Jackson. Why would Will Smith feel any tension around Michael Jackson? And what exactly is Katt Williams suggesting about the power behind it all? The answers aren't as simple as they seem, and the story goes deeper than most people expect. Join us as we break it all down. The Hollywood Insider. For years, Katt Williams has built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most outspoken voices. While many celebrities carefully choose their words and avoid controversy, Williams has often done the opposite. Whether during stand-up performances, radio interviews, podcasts, or television appearances, he has repeatedly made headlines for speaking about powerful people in the entertainment industry. This willingness to talk openly is one reason so many people continue to pay attention whenever he makes a new claim. Williams has spent much of his career criticizing often what he sees as the hidden side of Hollywood. He has accused certain celebrities of being protected by powerful connections and has suggested that success in the entertainment business is not always based solely on talent. Over the years, he has named actors, comedians, producers, and executives while discussing what he believes happens behind the scenes. Even when his comments have sparked backlash, Williams has rarely backed away from them.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is.
Interest in his claims reached a new level after his widely discussed interview with sports commentator Shannon Sharpe. During the interview, Williams spoke at length about Hollywood, celebrity culture, and several well-known entertainers. Clips from the conversation quickly spread across social media, generating millions of views and reigniting debates about whether Williams was exposing uncomfortable truths or simply sharing his personal opinions. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was clear: the interview brought renewed attention to many of the claims he had been making for years. Part of Williams' appeal comes from the belief among his supporters that he has seen parts of the entertainment industry that most people never will. Having spent decades working in comedy, film, and television, he has interacted with major stars and influential figures throughout his career. Because of this experience, many fans feel that he possesses insider knowledge about how Hollywood operates. When Williams speaks, those supporters often view his comments as coming from someone who has personally witnessed the industry's inner workings. His relationship with mainstream Hollywood has often appeared tense. Williams has frequently portrayed himself as an outsider who refuses to follow the unwritten rules of the entertainment business. He has suggested that speaking openly can come with consequences, including damaged relationships, lost opportunities, and public criticism. According to Williams, the industry tends to reward those who remain quiet, while creating difficulties for people who challenge powerful interests.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
This idea has become a recurring theme in many of his interviews. Williams has argued that certain successful celebrities benefit from strong networks of support that help protect their public image. He has also claimed that entertainers who question powerful figures may find themselves facing resistance from the industry. These allegations have become central to the public image he has developed over the years. Whether people agree with him or not, Williams' comments have helped shape conversations about fame, power, and influence in Hollywood. They also provide the foundation for discussions about figures like Michael Jackson. Many of Williams' supporters see similarities between his warnings about the entertainment industry and Jackson's own public battles with powerful executives and organizations. Those connections have led some people to revisit Jackson's story through the same lens that Williams often uses when discussing Hollywood's hidden power structures. A major reason people listen to Williams is because he frequently speaks from personal experience. Throughout his career, he has shared stories about conflicts with powerful individuals and organizations. He has claimed that his willingness to speak openly has sometimes led to professional consequences. Williams has suggested that there were moments when opportunities became harder to find after he criticized influential people. He has used these experiences to support his argument that Hollywood does not always welcome those who refuse to stay quiet.
Because in 30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets.
The comedian has also discussed what he sees as the difference between controlled stars and independent stars. In his view, entertainers who rely heavily on large studios, networks, or corporate partnerships are often more vulnerable to outside influence. Independent figures, on the other hand, can become difficult to manage because they are not as dependent on the traditional gatekeepers of the industry. When a celebrity has enough fame, money, and public support to operate without approval from powerful executives, Williams believes they become a challenge to the existing system. Bigger than the industry. By the time Michael Jackson reached the peak of his career, many people believed he had become far more than just a music star. He was one of the most recognizable people in the world, with a level of fame that few entertainers before or since have ever achieved. His journey began as a child with the Jackson 5, where his talent quickly stood out. Even at a young age, audiences were drawn to his voice, stage presence, and ability to perform. What started as childhood success eventually grew into something much bigger.
Michael, I know I'm supposed to be happy because he used to be black. I remember.
As Michael moved into his solo career, his popularity exploded. Albums like Off the Wall made him a major star, but it was Thriller that changed everything. Released in 1982, the album became a global phenomenon. It broke records, dominated charts, and helped transform music videos into major entertainment events. Songs like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller became worldwide hits. The album's success reached countries and audiences that many artists could only dream of reaching. Decades later, Thriller is still recognized as one of the best-selling albums in music history. The success of Michael Jackson was not limited to album sales. His concert tours generated enormous amounts of money. Fans traveled from around the world to see him perform, often filling stadiums within hours of tickets becoming available. Merchandise bearing his name sold in huge numbers, creating another major source of income. Beyond that, Jackson became increasingly involved in the business side of music. One of his most famous moves was acquiring ownership rights to valuable music catalogs, including songs written and performed by other artists. This decision gave him financial power that extended well beyond his own recordings.
That Michael forgot he was a nigga. He forgot he was a nigga. He forgot he was a nigga. That it was us supporting him. We had that big ass, greasy ass, bell pepper ass nose. That was us.
As his influence grew, some observers began to speculate that major industry figures were becoming uncomfortable with how much power he possessed. Unlike many artists who depended heavily on record companies, Jackson had become a global brand in his own right. His name alone could attract massive media attention and generate millions of dollars. He was no longer simply benefiting from the music industry. In many ways, he had become one of its most powerful figures. This independence was one reason many people viewed Jackson as different from other entertainers. He had a direct connection with fans around the world. When he appeared in public, it became international news. When he released music, millions paid attention. His influence often seemed to operate beyond the control of traditional industry channels. He did not always need television networks, magazines, or radio stations to keep the public interested. His fame was already established on a global scale. As the years went on, there were increasing reports that Jackson had become distrustful of certain industry executives and corporate leaders. In interviews and public appearances, he occasionally spoke about his frustrations with the business side of entertainment. He expressed concerns about how artists were treated and suggested that powerful companies often put profits ahead of people. These comments became more frequent during the later stages of his career. War with Sony.
And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
One of the most controversial chapters in Michael Jackson's career began in the early 2000s when his relationship with Sony Music publicly fell apart. What made the situation so unusual was that Jackson did not keep his frustrations behind closed doors. Instead, he openly criticized one of the most powerful music companies in the world and directly challenged some of its top executives. For many fans, this marked the moment when Jackson stopped acting solely as a performer and began speaking out as a critic of the music industry itself. The conflict became especially visible during the release of Jackson's 2001 album Invincible. The project was one of the most expensive albums ever produced at the time. Years had gone into its creation, and expectations were extremely high. While the album sold millions of copies worldwide, Jackson believed it should have received much stronger support from Sony. He argued that the company failed to properly promote the record and did not put enough effort into helping it succeed. As tensions grew, Jackson became increasingly vocal. During public appearances and speeches, he accused Sony of unfair treatment. He claimed that the company was deliberately limiting the album's potential and preventing it from reaching the audience he believed it deserved. Rather than speaking in general terms, Jackson directly named Sony executives, including then-chairman Tommy Mottola.
The companies take advantage of them. They really do.
His attacks on Mottola quickly became major news. During one public speech, Jackson accused the executive of being controlling and unfair. The comments shocked many observers because it was rare for an artist of Jackson's stature to publicly challenge one of the most influential figures in the music business. Most disputes between artists and record companies remained private. Jackson chose a different approach, bringing the conflict into full public view. At the center of the dispute was Jackson's belief that powerful industry figures were trying to weaken his influence. He argued that artists often had little control over their own careers and that major corporations held too much power. According to Jackson, when artists became successful enough to challenge that system, they could find themselves facing resistance. He suggested that his problems with Sony were not simply about one album, but reflected larger issues within the entertainment industry. The controversy surrounding Invincible became a major talking point. Supporters of Jackson argued that the album's promotional campaign appeared unusually limited compared to the efforts given to other major releases. Critics, however, pointed out that the album still sold millions of copies and questioned whether Sony had intentionally sabotaged the project. The disagreement fueled years of debate among fans, industry observers, and journalists.
At Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And
Media coverage of the feud was intense. Newspapers, television programs, and entertainment magazines closely followed every development. Some outlets treated Jackson's accusations seriously and examined his concerns about artist rights and corporate power. Others portrayed the conflict as another example of Jackson's increasingly troubled relationship with the music business. As a result, public opinion became deeply divided. Regardless of which side people believed, the battle changed how many viewed Michael Jackson. For much of his career, he had been known primarily as a singer, performer, and entertainer. During the Sony dispute, he began speaking more openly about contracts, ownership, business practices, and the treatment of artists. He appeared less focused on promoting music and more interested in exposing what he believed were serious problems within the industry. This transformation is one reason the Sony conflict remains such an important part of Jackson's story. It was no longer just a disagreement between an artist and a record company. It became a public fight over power, control, and influence. For supporters who later argued that Jackson knew too much about the entertainment business, the feud with Sony became one of the key pieces of evidence they pointed to when discussing the challenges he faced during the final years of his career. Michael knew too much.
I'm not supposed to say what I'm going to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it!
Over the years, a major idea that has circulated around Michael Jackson is the claim that he knew too much about the music industry. This idea did not come from one single event. Instead, it grew slowly through interviews he gave, business decisions he made, and conflicts he had with powerful companies and individuals in entertainment. Jackson often spoke about what he believed was unfair treatment of artists in the music business. He talked about how many performers did not fully own their work and how record labels controlled important parts of their careers. He explained in interviews that artists could sign contracts without fully understanding how much control they were giving away. These comments made many people start to look more closely at how the industry operates behind the scenes. One of the strongest areas of focus for Jackson was ownership of music catalogs. These catalogs contain rights to songs that generate long-term income through sales, radio play, licensing, and streaming. Jackson famously bought the rights to many songs from other artists, which gave him strong financial power. At the same time, there were ongoing disputes in the industry about who should control valuable music rights. Jackson's involvement in these battles made some people believe he had deep knowledge of how powerful companies manage music ownership and profit distribution.
They never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
As his career went on, Jackson made statements that some interpreted as signs he understood sensitive information about powerful figures in the entertainment world. He did not always explain these claims in detail, but he often hinted that he had seen things that concerned him. Because he was one of the biggest stars in the world, even small comments from him drew major attention and sparked discussion. After his public conflicts with major record companies and executives, especially during his disputes with Sony Music, conspiracy theories began to grow around him. Some fans believed that his struggles were not just about business disagreements, but involved deeper issues within the entertainment industry. These theories suggested that Jackson's position as a global superstar gave him access to information that others did not have. It is important to note that these ideas remain theories and claims made by supporters and observers. There is no confirmed evidence that Jackson possessed secret information beyond what he publicly discussed. However, the strength of these beliefs increased because of how openly he criticized powerful people in the industry and how strongly he spoke about what he believed were unfair systems. For many of his supporters, Jackson's words about corruption and exploitation were taken very seriously. They believed he was one of the few major artists willing to speak openly about how the industry treated performers. These fans argue that his experiences, especially his legal and business battles, show that he was exposed to high levels of industry pressure and conflict.
We can't let them get away with what they're trying to do because...
On the other side, critics viewed his claims differently. Some believed he misunderstood business practices or exaggerated his experiences. Others argued that the music industry, while competitive, operates within standard business structures, and that his statements were influenced by personal frustration during difficult periods in his career. The difference in how people interpret these claims is part of why Michael Jackson's story remains heavily debated. To some, he was a superstar speaking out about real problems in the industry. To others, he was an artist caught in complex business disputes that were later turned into larger theories. This divide is a major reason why discussions about what he knew continue to appear in conversations about his life and career. Jackson's death. In the months leading up to Michael Jackson's death in 2009, there was a lot of public attention on his planned return to the stage. He had announced a major series of concerts called This Is It, which were scheduled to take place in London. These shows were expected to mark his comeback after years away from live touring. Fans were excited, but there were also growing concerns about whether Jackson was physically ready for such a demanding schedule.
The way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album.
Reports from rehearsals suggested that Jackson was working hard, but also appeared physically weak at times. Some people involved in the production said he seemed tired during practice sessions. Others, however, described him as focused and determined to perform. Because Jackson had been under intense public pressure for years, any sign of fatigue quickly became a topic of discussion in the media. At the center of Jackson's medical care during this time was his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray. Murray was hired to help manage Jackson's sleep issues and general health needs while preparing for the concerts. It was later revealed during investigations that Murray had been administering medications to Jackson, including the powerful anesthetic propofol, which is normally used only in hospital settings with strict monitoring. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died at his home in Los Angeles. Emergency services were called and attempts were made to resuscitate him, but he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The official cause of death was later ruled as acute propofol intoxication combined with other sedatives. News of his death spread quickly around the world, leading to immediate shock, mourning, and widespread media coverage.
Michael told me that they were going to murder him.
In the aftermath, attention quickly turned to Dr. Murray. Investigators focused on the medical treatment Jackson had received in the hours leading up to his death. Murray admitted to administering propofol to help Jackson sleep, but he claimed he had not intended to cause harm. The legal case that followed became one of the most closely watched celebrity trials in modern history. In 2011, Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to prison. As the official investigation unfolded, another layer of public conversation began to grow: conspiracy theories. Some supporters of Jackson questioned whether all the circumstances had been fully explained. These theories varied widely, with some people suggesting that negligence alone did not account for what happened. Others believed there were broader forces at play, although no verified evidence has supported these claims. A small but vocal group of fans argued that Jackson's death should be viewed in connection with his long history of conflicts within the music industry. They pointed to his disputes with record companies, his public criticism of powerful executives, and his claims about unfair treatment as reasons they believed he may have been under intense pressure in the years before his death. These supporters sometimes framed his death as part of a larger pattern involving the entertainment industry, though this view remains speculative and is not supported by official findings.
But she just said, he's dead. And when she did that, I almost crashed the car. I started crying and...
At the same time, many others strongly reject conspiracy theories and rely on the official medical and legal conclusions. They emphasize that the investigation found clear evidence of medical negligence by Dr. Murray, and that the court case focused on established facts regarding the improper use of anesthesia in a home setting. Despite this, conspiracy theories about Jackson's death continue to circulate online. They persist for several reasons, including his global fame, the dramatic nature of the circumstances, and his history of public disputes with powerful figures. When public figures have highly visible conflicts during their lives, it often leads to continued speculation after their deaths, even when official explanations are provided. In later years, discussions involving entertainers like Katt Williams have also contributed to renewed interest in Hollywood power dynamics. Williams's repeated comments about control, influence, and hidden pressures in the entertainment industry have led some fans to connect his broader warnings to stories like Jackson's. While these connections are based on interpretation rather than confirmed evidence, they continue to shape how certain audiences view the events surrounding Michael Jackson's final years and death.
Then the motherfucker wanna get white, and we kept giving the nigga chances and shit with the Villa Lago shit.
Will Smith's fascination. During the 1990s, Will Smith rose from being a rapper and sitcom star to one of the biggest names in Hollywood. His role in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air made him a household name, and later, films like Bad Boys and Independence Day turned him into a global movie star. As his career expanded, Smith often found himself moving in the same world of high-level fame that had once been dominated by earlier icons, including Michael Jackson.
The first and only time I ever met Michael Jackson.
From early in his career, Smith openly admired Michael Jackson. He grew up during a time when Jackson was already one of the most famous entertainers on the planet, and that influence stayed with him. Smith has spoken in interviews about how Jackson represented a level of success that was difficult to fully understand unless someone experienced it directly. For Smith, Jackson was not just a singer. He was a global figure whose name, face, and music were known in almost every country. Jackson's fame reached a level that very few entertainers have ever achieved. His albums were played worldwide, his music videos were major global events, and his public appearances often created massive attention. This kind of recognition meant that Jackson was constantly in the public eye, with very little private space left in his life. For other entertainers like Smith, this level of exposure became something to observe closely, especially as their own careers grew. Smith has shared stories about meeting Jackson on different occasions. One of the most well-known accounts involves Smith receiving advice and insight from Jackson about fame and the pressure that comes with it. According to Smith, Jackson spoke about the challenges of being constantly watched and how it could affect a person's life and decisions. These conversations left a strong impression on Smith, who was still building his career at the time.
And I wanted to meet him my whole life.
In interviews, Smith has often described Jackson as the ultimate example of global celebrity. He has pointed out that Jackson's influence went beyond music and entertainment. People from different countries, cultures, and languages all recognized him instantly. For Smith, this made Jackson a reference point when thinking about success in the entertainment industry. If an artist reached a certain level of fame, Jackson's name often came up as the standard for comparison. As Smith's own career expanded into major film roles and global box office success, he was frequently measured against other top entertainers. In that context, Michael Jackson remained a key figure. Jackson's level of fame became something that many in the entertainment world were aware of, even if they were not directly involved in music. He represented a type of global recognition that few people could reach.
And I'm like, yo. And I hear, hey. Like, oh,
This kind of comparison also brought pressure. For entertainers like Smith, being linked to someone like Jackson meant being placed next to one of the most recognizable figures in history. It created expectations about success, visibility, and public life. Smith has acknowledged in various discussions that reaching higher levels of fame comes with challenges, including constant public attention and reduced privacy. Over time, Michael Jackson's name became more than just part of music history for Will Smith. He became a benchmark for understanding what extreme fame looks like. That perspective helped shape how Smith viewed his own career as it moved into international superstardom, where every success was measured against some of the biggest names the entertainment world has ever produced. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's most talked about moments, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.